I bet you're thinking that Max Verstappen has the championship wrapped up this year. That's it. That's all the championship contending that will be happening. This thing must be done and dusted, right? You're wrong. The championship is wide open. The championship is actually up for grabs. Not the one that you're thinking of, but a different one. One from a long time ago, 2008 to be exact. Because this is the other semi-big news story at the moment. Felipe Massa lawyers see compensation from Formula One bosses and FIA for lost 2008 title. Felipe Massa was leading the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix when Nelson Piquet crashed on lap 14, helping Piquet's Spanish teammate Fernando Alonso win the race. Lewis Hamilton beat Massa by a point to the Drivers' Championship. Holy dooly, what the heck-a-rooney is this about? Lawyers for former Ferrari driver Felipe Massa has started legal action against Formula One bosses and the governing FIA, seeking substantial damages resulting from an alleged conspiracy that denied him the 2008 championship.
Wow, I guess this is a big moment. I should care about it.
Absolutely. Simply put, Mr. Massa is the rightful 2008 Drivers' Champion. The F1 and FIA deliberately ignored the misconduct that cheated him out of that title, said their letter. Mr. Massa is unable to fully quantify his losses at this stage, but estimates that they are likely to exceed tens of millions of euros. The amount does not cover the serious moral and reputational losses suffered by Mr. Massa. I won't play this video, but we can all just enjoy this this algorithmically selected keyframe. What a treat. Massa sought advice after former F1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone was quoted in March as saying he and former FIA President Max Mosley knew in 2008 that then Renault driver Nelson Piquet's crash was deliberate, but they had not acted, meaning they didn't do anything about it. But you probably know this story. This dates back to the Singapore Grand Prix, 2008. Fernando Alonso went on to win. It turned out that was a rigged move to orchestrate a win for Fernando Alonso. After a few very successful years, a partnership between Renault and Fernando Alonso where they won back-to-back championships and so on. Fernando Alonso leaves, goes to McLaren, incredibly disastrous season there, leaves, disgraced kind of, and goes back to Renault. Renault has a tough year. They really struggle. Relationships between the team and the founders and the government support, and everything seems to be falling apart for them. And I've heard it said that it was rumored at the time that if they didn't win a race or show some promise, that funding may be pulled and that team may be shut down. So you can tell that the pressure was on. The screws were being turned by somebody. And then all of a sudden they have this crazy idea. Let's rig this race. Let's rig it in Fernando's favor. We win the race. What harm could that possibly do? Well, it did actually end up that championship, you may remember, went right down to the wire. Felipe Massa won the final race. Hamilton only had to finish fifth or whatever, overtook a car on the last lap to finish in exactly that position, won by 1 point. A huge moment. Until recent times, it was one of the most dramatic and exciting championship finishes that we've had in generations, only to be outdone by the by the year that we shall not name. So recently, old mate Bernie Ecclestone, now quite elderly, did an interview where he said, we knew, I knew, Max Mosley, we knew that that was rigged. And really what should have happened was that whole race should have been nullified and Felipe Massa should have won that championship. But oh well. And then Felipe Massa was like, I'm absolutely not having any of that. I absolutely want to get that championship that I wanted. Also, he says, you just have to read this and then we can keep moving on. This is... This is Bernie Ecclestone's reaction. I don't remember any of this, to be honest, said the Briton. I don't remember giving the interview, that's for sure. Good to know that a lot of this hinges on the words of a guy who gave an interview and then a few months later was asked for comment and said, no, I don't remember it. Actually, I don't think so. I don't think that was me. I think you're mistaken. Must have been someone else. Quick rundown of what happened in 2008. Massa was leading the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix from pole position. Fellow Brazilian Piquet crashed into the wall on lap 14. The crash triggered a safety car, which benefited his teammate. Massa failed to score after a bungled pit stop. Piquet revealed in 2009 that he had been told to crash by the Renault team bosses, who were subsequently banned. The scandal, dubbed Crashgate, became one of the biggest scandals in sports history. In this year's interview with F1 Insider, Ecclestone was quoted as saying he still felt sorry for Massa. He was cheated out of the title he deserved. While Hamilton had all the luck in the world and won his first championship, Massa told Reuters in May that he wanted justice If the most important people in Formula One and the FIA knew in 2008 and didn't do anything, you think that's fair? It's not fair. It says he also wanted recognition that, but for those unlawful acts, he would have been awarded the 2008 championship. Now, there's a few problems here. The first problem is that what happens when a team is found to be cheating is not that the whole race is thrown in the bin. Now, obviously, it affected Massa. He pitted at a time that he probably wouldn't have. It might have disrupted the team. The team still screwed up his pit stop. I think he actually got a penalty and he had to pit a second time and he dropped down out of the points. But that's their bad luck, you know. The problem is that when a team is disqualified for cheating or something, the whole race and the whole result isn't thrown out. Just that team gets penalized. So even if you say, okay, we've discovered that Renault cheated in that race, their achievement and their points will be removed. They will be stripped and everybody will move up, essentially. That would mean someone else would have won. And Felipe Massa still would have finished outside of the points, I believe. The end result of that is that Lewis Hamilton actually would have won the championship that year by even more points. So this argument that Felipe Massa and his lawyers are making is that because of that soiled result in that race, I should be champion. The problem is if you think about it for more than 3 seconds, you come to realize that's not true. But it goes from bad to worse because here's another write-up. Blow for Felipe Massa in legal challenge over Lewis Hamilton 2008 title defeat. According to Sky reporter Craig Slater, no FIA system exists which could allow Felipe Massa to overturn his now controversial 2008 World Championship defeat to Lewis Hamilton. So why didn't something happen in 2009 when all of this came to light? Well, according to the FIA statutes, once the trophy has been handed over to Lewis Hamilton at the FIA prize-giving ceremony, there was no cause for appeal for Massa or his Ferrari team. So all of the competitors within the Formula One Drivers' Championship effectively sign up to the rules that state that once the prize giving happens, you cannot appeal the result. Now, Massa could go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. He could get a decision there, but the snag is the FIA does not recognize CAS decisions except in the case of doping violations. So that would not help him overturn or change the result of that Grand Prix. Poor old Felipe Massa. The FIA has got it in for him. The FIA is saying,
Lewis, I love you and respect you.
And poor old Massa just gets left out in the cold just because he lost fair and square and there's no world in which he would have won. You'd have to think that the play here is not to have the championship overturned and given to him. He even says in that comment there that he's after justice. And what that means is this, right? The thing that he's kind of leveraging really is the controversy after the 2021 championship and the environment, the cloud of distrust that has been caused from that, the detrimental effect that has on the growing fan base in the US and so on in the Drive to Survive era. And Felipe Massa and his lawyers are trying to get some scratch out of it. That's just it. I mean, there's no other way you could think about that, honestly. You must be thinking, boy, those Brazilians are pretty cooked the way they think. But just to put a little button on this story, elsewhere in Brazilian racing, we get this story. Keeping it with Brazil's, with Felipe Massa's countrymen, speaking of the Piquet family as well, the story from Sportskeeda. Isn't he supposed to be in jail? Fans react to Julia Piquet saying F1 turned their back and didn't wish Nelson Piquet happy birthday. Former F1 driver and 3-time world champion Nelson Piquet was not wished on his birthday by Formula One this year, and this had his daughter Julia Piquet upset. She posted on X and Instagram expressing her anger at Formula One's management for not doing so. Julia's text read, "Well, I see getting cancelled by the court of public opinion means you no longer deserve happy birthday tweets or recognition of his incredible feats. Shame on you, F1, turning your back on one of F1's greatest champions, a 3-time champion to be exact. I will not forget. I said good day, sir," F1 replied via tweet.
Because a monkey every day bananas.
And I think there's something in that for everybody. Nelson Piquet was earlier banned from the Formula One paddock for the allegedly racist comments that he made against Lewis Hamilton in 2021 during an interview. Shock, horror. Fans did not take kindly to Julia's comments as they felt that Formula One not wishing her father a happy birthday made sense, owing to the fact that he was banned from the paddock. Here are some of the reactions to Julia's tweet. Isn't he supposed to be in jail? The funny thing is, it wasn't just a court of public opinion that deemed him racist, it was an actual court as well in Brazil. This is the thing that some people may not know, is that after those comments on that podcast, Nelson Piquet was actually charged, and it went through a legal process, and he was fined a heap of money, and then obviously given a ban by the Formula One community. But you must be thinking, oh gosh, come on. That must be like one of those isolated incidents, right? And is it really that big a deal? Let's dig in. Why was Nelson Piquet banned from the F1 paddock? Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen had a heated battle during the 2021 F1 season, and there are even a few moments where they made contact on the track. One collision happened during the British Grand Prix on the opening lap. The two made contact and Verstappen smashed into the wall. Not pictured here, them doing that. Reviewing the crash on a podcast, Nelson Piquet seemed to blame Hamilton for the crash and referred to him using a racial slur. This caught the attention of the F1 authorities and media houses around the world. The former driver later mentioned that his intent while uttering the term was not racial. Yeah, I always say racial slurs, but I mean them in a non-racial way, you know what I mean? But the British Racing Drivers Club, obviously they control British racing, they also run Silverstone, but the British Racing Drivers Club suspended Piquet's membership, and later a Brazilian court asked him to pay US $950,000 in moral damages. Poor guy was just having a bad day, and he has to drop a cool meal just because he had low blood sugar that day. It cost him $1 million. Unbelievable. This wasn't the first time that Nelson Piquet had been booked for using insulting language. He was also witnessed using allegedly homophobic language for Hamilton back in 2016. Fucking hell. My God, Nelson Piquet, just shut your fucking mouth. He's also been booked in the past for using insulting language for others like Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell, and his wife, Enzo Ferrari, and Keke Rosberg. There's no one that this guy won't go. Fucking hell, he'll be coming after me next. Stay out of the comments, bro. You're not liked here. You're not wanted here. Unbelievable.